Had a surgery, knows that you don't wake up and everything is fine, so you feel still the surgery, so, and that's it. But he's good, as good as you can be, and that's it.
Well, it's a huge miss for them, isn't he, Gabby? But they do have a big squad, as we've talked about regarding clubs like Chelsea and Manchester City. If Liverpool get at least a point against West Ham, they will return to where they finished last season, top of the pile. But West Ham have been good, but they will miss Mikel Antonio, won't they? Who's been talismanic, but sadly is injured today.
Yep, West Ham, I mean, without Mikel Antonio, they're a whole different side for me. I feel like the tactics that they play to defend deep and look for Antonio on a counter-attack suits the way they play. Without him, I can only see a lot of pressure on that West Ham goal, and I feel sooner or later the likes of Salah and Mane are going to start getting their 2 goals a game. I think Liverpool are due to give someone a good hiding, and I feel like without Antonio there's not going to be as much threat going forward. So Liverpool's defence, if it's Matip and Gomez and one of the young lads, I don't think they're going to be tested much today, so I'm looking at a comfortable win for Liverpool. But in further games coming, when they're playing against quality sides, I feel like that Liverpool defence is going to get found out as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the table, it's incredible. I can't remember a season like it, really. I mean, we're on week 7. Wolverhampton Wanderers were winners last night against Crystal Palace, so they've moved up to 3rd. Everton still top by virtue of goal difference over their Merseyside rivals. But, I mean, can you remember a season? I can't, where 3 points separate the entire top 10. It's incredible, isn't it? And it's just, how long is it going to continue being as open as this, do you think?
I think if you give it 3, 4, 5 more games, I feel like the sides of like Liverpool, the sides like Manchester City are going to start getting a run together, and I think there'll start to be a gap. I think it's still early days. A lot of these squads have not had much rest during the summer. Yep. You've got the Champions League games that are every week now, so it's a bit of a different season. But I do feel that the top 2, Liverpool and Manchester City, will form a gap soon, and the rest of the top 10 I think will stay as it is. It will be quite tight.
Yeah, the cream does normally rise to the top, but it just makes it absolutely fascinating, doesn't it? I mean, you look at a team like Arsenal, they're down in 12th, but they're realistically only 4 points off top spot. It's quite incredible. Well, Liverpool West Ham, 5:30 local time. We'll bring you that one, of course, and then we've got 4 games for you tomorrow. Starting, Gabby, with your beloved Aston Villa at home to Southampton. It was all going so well for Villa, but they came unstuck last weekend.
Yeah, it was a tough game last weekend. I think Leeds United are a team that they will beat a lot of teams like the way they beat Aston Villa. They're the fittest team I've seen in a long while and very organised under Bielsa. So I'm hoping that was a blip. I look at the next game for Aston Villa, Southampton. It's going to be a very, very tough game. Southampton, I mean, everyone's impressed with how they've been ever since they lost, was it 9-0 to Leicester. They've been a different team, and they've got a lot of players like Redmond, Ings, Adams. You've got Walcott coming back in now, so it'll be a really tough game for Aston Villa. But this is what Villa fans want to see, their team bounce back and make sure that it was just a blip against Leeds.
Yeah, the last weekend was the first anniversary of that awful, embarrassing defeat for Southampton in the rain at St Mary's against Leicester. But it just goes to show that if you are willing to stick with a manager that you believe in, regardless of how bad a result may be, that making knee-jerk reactions is not always the best idea. And Southampton, to me, look at a very good, well-balanced side. They were terrific against Everton last weekend. I thought they played well from 1 to 11, really, and they look a very galvanised side this season.
Yeah, and like you said there, I feel like clubs now will learn from Southampton and not just sack a manager after one bad result. And what they did has helped them become the team they are now. You look at the way they play like an old school 4-4-2, but when they lose the ball, their 2 strikers are back defending, so that's what Everton couldn't deal with. They had 11 men behind the ball, but also counter-attack well. I also feel the whole team is very balanced, and they're going to beat a lot of teams this year, and they'll be absolutely fine, Southampton.
Yeah, talking of Everton, I mean, obviously they came unstuck for the first time this season, but they've still had a terrific start to the campaign. They're at Newcastle, which is never an easy place to go to. One of my friends who's an Everton supporter rather unkindly suggested that now that the clocks have gone back, James Rodriguez might decide disappear a little. I think it's one of those old cliches about can he do it on a wet weekend in Stoke, but they will need him to keep performing, won't they?
Yeah, 100%. And he didn't have the best of games against Southampton, but what Southampton were clever was they pressed him. Whenever he had the ball, someone was putting him on the floor. They were getting little clever fouls on him, getting him angry, and that's what you have to do with that sort of player. You have to press him and put him off his game. But Everton will be fine. I think Everton fans might have been getting carried away with their start, but I think as a squad and a manager, if they can finish in the top 8, top 6 this season, it'll be an outstanding season. What they've done with their start is they've given themselves a bit of breathing space to be able to lose like they did last week, and then no one makes a big fuss about it.
Yeah, I would agree. No doubt about the big game of the weekend. That comes at 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. It's Manchester United against Arsenal. It's always a massive game, that one. I know both clubs have huge support all around the world, so you'll be very keen to tune in for that one with Joe Shannon and the former Manchester United title winner Paul Parker. Let's hear from the United boss, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who tells us that he reckons the Premier League these days is more competitive than when he was the Manchester United super sub.
So many clubs have developed strength in depth and the ability to challenge for the trophies, of course. So even though the last 2 seasons you've had 2 teams running away with it, I think this season a lot of us just underneath them would hope to put up a challenge. But back then we felt it was either us or Arsenal, or then Chelsea came through as well. So for me it's more probably more exciting and interesting for the fans as well, and for everyone, that you don't really have it's going to be one of these two. So, and I think it showed this season anything can happen.
Well, you don't normally get Manchester United-Arsenal games where Arsenal are 12th and Manchester United are 15th, but it's been that kind of season, and for either of them to lose, I mean, it's early days, but that would be fairly catastrophic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think there's more pressure for some reason on Arteta at the moment. I mean, Arsenal are in a bit of bad form. There's talk about Aubameyang, Willian. They've not really done that much, especially since Aubameyang signed his contract. He hasn't scored and he's not looked like the same player. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Arteta, because Manchester United, the way they played in midweek in the Champions League, if they can play like that, I could see a similar result against Arsenal. So it's strange times, like you says, where they are in the league, but it's still early days. We can't really judge it after 5-6 games. We'll have to look and see what it's like after 10-11 games.
Just had a bit of news from the dressing room regarding our game, Burnley against Chelsea, of course. Timo Werner was initially on the substitutes bench, but we understand that he is now going to start, and that Christian Pulisic is not going to be included. I can only assume he must have injured himself in training or in the warm-up, or aggravated an injury. He was set to play, Pulisic. I know that'll disappoint an awful lot of our American listeners as well, but we're hearing that Timo Werner will start and Christian Pulisic will be left out. I can confirm he was injured, the American, in the warm-up, so he will not be playing for Chelsea today. Let's go back to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He made some interesting comments this week, one of which was about the issue of substitutes. Of course, during the after the lockdown, when the Premier League resumed, we had 5 subs allowed. It's back down to 3, but Solskjaer, along with Pep Guardiola, believes it should go back to 5.
I don't understand, and I cannot believe that the vote went against, because we have to look after the players, we have to think about the players, and this season is the most demanding season of all. If you take a step back and think about these professional footballers and their mental and physical health, I think the only sensible solution would have been to give us the opportunity to rest a few more. We've already seen loads of injuries in the Premier League. I know Pep has been talking about it, other managers, and we have to look after them.
What do you reckon, Gabby? Is it the big clubs just saying we've got a better squad?
Yeah, come on, it's not fair, because I don't think they should be allowed 5 subs, because if you look at Manchester United squad and Manchester City, I mean, even let's look at Spurs, for instance. They could bring on Dele Alli, Bale, they could bring on Harry Winks, they could bring on all these quality players, but then you look at a side like Burnley and they've only got probably 3 players that they want to bring on. So if you're losing, or you're 0-0 in a game, and then Spurs, Manchester United can bring on 5 world-class players, it's going to change the game, isn't it, when your players are tired? So you've got to look at it from the teams that aren't so privileged with big squads, and it's not our fault that Manchester United and the big clubs are in the Champions League.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Let's hear from the 2 managers involved today then at Turf Moor, Sean Dyche and Frank Lampard.
Well, it's all part of the learning curve for Frank, I'm sure. Had a really strong first season. Spent a lot of money, but he'll know, the different teams he's worked in and managed, that moulding period to get all them players to align and pick your best team, and the ones who work together on the pitch and the ones who find a blend that works and is successful. They're all the challenges that come of any coach or manager in the Premier League. He'll be looking to do that individually. I think we all know they've got some very, very high level individuals, and trying to find the mix that works for him on a regular basis. Every manager's trying to do that.
Respect to Burnley team managed by Sean Dyche, the qualities that they have. I watched the game against Tottenham. They were very unfortunate to obviously not take anything from the game against a very good Tottenham team. Burnley, in terms of their organisation, their effort, their desire and their qualities. I think people can pigeonhole Burnley. I don't. I know they have quality players. I know they have a very effective way of playing and a very good manager, so I expect a tough match.
I think we performed very well, actually, and I think we deserve, probably, arguably anyway, all 3 at West Brom. You don't always get it. And I thought we certainly deserved something against a good Tottenham side. So that's looking a lot better performance-wise. Of course, you've got to turn performances into points, but I've always been a believer, I've always spoken openly with the players about performances over a season pay you back. The consistency now is because you still want that win, of course. That does build confidence when you're winning games, or it certainly adds to confidence. But no, there's a lot of things they're still doing well, but we've got to find the margins that we're often good at to make sure we get points on the board and wins on the board.
When you're bringing in new players into the club, and it's a great thing to bring players with versatility in their game, and I love that, but you're also then in the early stage of the season trying to find the balance for the whole team, the thing that brings out the best in all the players. And I keep saying that, it must sound like a broken record, and it's not an excuse, but normally you have a month or 6 weeks and probably 2 weeks in America or the Far East to hone down these things. We actually are doing them in real time, so it's maybe normal that we've had to find different solutions to different games.
Well, those are the 2 managers ahead of this one, the 2 sets of players making their way onto the pitch through their separate entrances at Turf Moor. Just to remind you, if you just joined us, Christian Pulisic will not play today for Chelsea. He was named initially, but he's injured himself in the warm-up and has been replaced by Timo Werner. Burnley in the bottom 3, Chelsea looking to climb the table, potentially into 4th place. It's coming up live on Premier League Live.
As darkness sweeps around the globe at 8 p.m, 25,000 people worldwide will pull their running shoes on to hit the road for a virtual 5 or 10k at Run in the Dark. I'm Mark Pollock, and by joining us to Run in the Dark this November, you'll be supporting the Mark Pollock Trust and our charity partner Collaborative Cures, whose mission it is to cure paralysis in our lifetime. Register now at runinthedark.org and get your medal, your flashing armband, and your Run in the Dark virtual timing app. Thank you.
Let's talk about you looking after your business. Ford, looking after your vehicle. Let's talk hassle-free Ford leasing. Just a fixed monthly payment, no motor tax to deal with, and no maintenance or servicing to pay on selected plans. Get the Ford Transit Custom from €290 per month. Hassle-free Ford lease. Now we're talking. Search Ford Lease or text Ford to 50015 to speak to us about leasing your next vehicle.
Text cost to standard rate. Price quoted for Transit Custom Base with no maintenance over 4 years with 3 monthly rentals in advance. 20,000 kilometres per annum. Business users only. Price excludes VAT. Ford Lease is provided by Merriam Fleet Management, trading as Ford Lease.
Get ready and hold on tight because the Premier League is here. Which teams will stay on track and who'll go off the rail? Get the Irish Sun for top transfer news, exclusive star interviews and opinions from the biggest names in football, plus expert analysis of every action-packed match in our fantastic goals pull-out each weekend. Stay up to speed because you never know what the Premier League is going to throw up. Pick up the Irish Sun today.
This is not the time for business as usual. It's time for effort and imagination. It's time to use technology to start your online plans. It's time to work from home to stay in touch. It's time to look to each other. Erscá Céile. Ireland is working online with help from Black Knight and .ie, because now we need better than business as usual. Call Black Knight on 059 918 3027 or visit blackknight.ie.
123inc.ie have your office needs covered. So whether you're an accountant, butcher, carpenter, dentist, electrician, florist, graphic designer, hairdresser, journalist, lecturer, musician, optician, retailer, teacher, solicitor, web designer, or yoga instructor, we've got what you need. And we're cheaper than your current supplier. 123inc.ie. For home, for office, for less.
Introducing Gudmundsson Sport. Protect your sporting equipment from COVID-19 for up to 14 days with Gudmundsson Sport disinfectant treatment. Ideal in team sport settings with the sharing of balls, rackets, gloves, helmets, and all other sporting equipment. Gudmundsson Sport kills COVID-19 on impact, keeping surfaces free from COVID-19 and other viruses and bacteria for up to 14 days by creating a protective polymer layer on application. For more information on Gudmundsson Sport and other quality assured, certified and approved PPE, visit yourcovidprotection.com.
You're listening to TalkSport's coverage of Burnley against Chelsea from Turf Moor. I'm your host, John Anderson. Alongside me is the former Aston Villa and England striker, Gabby Agbonlahor. This is Premier League Live. Well, Chelsea have already suffered a blow. Christian Pulisic, who scored a hat-trick on this ground in a 4-2 win last season. It was a perfect hat-trick too. Right foot, left foot header. That was really the game that announced himself as a major force in the Premier League, but he's got injured, so Frank Lampard has had to reshuffle his pack before kick-off. The two captains out in the centre, Ashley Westwood of Burnley and Thiago Silva of Chelsea. But before the match gets underway, we will have a minute's silence. It's been a very sad week for football. We've lost Nobby Stiles, one of England's 1966 World Cup winning heroes, whose toothless grin and victory dance at Wembley that famous day has really been an iconic moment in English football. It is also the last home game before Remembrance Day, so we will also, of course, be remembering those who we lost in wartime. The giant screen has a picture of Nobby Stiles, 1942 to 2020, a European Cup winner with Manchester United, of course, the club with whom he spent most of his career, a much-loved figure in English football and English sport. the context of wartime. Football, of course, is only a game, but football, English football, has lost one of its favourite sons, Nobby Stiles. There are now only 4 members of England's 1966 World Cup winning team still with us, and we wish all of them continuing good health while wishing condolences to the friends and family of Nobby Stiles. That is followed by the now traditional taking of the knee. And any moment now we will be underway at Turf Moor. Our referee today is David Coote. Chelsea are in their traditional all blue strip, and Burnley, the Clarets as they are known, are in claret and blue. Let me give you the 2 lineups. Burnley have Nick Pope in goal, a back 4 of Matt Lowton, James Tarkowski, Kevin Long and Charlie Taylor. Then it's Dwight McNeil, Ashley Westwood, Dale Stevens, who replaces the injured Johan Berg Gudmundsson, and Josh Brown, Westwood and Ashley Barnes. For Chelsea, Edouard Mendy, who's kept clean sheets in 4 of his 5 Chelsea games, is in goal. The back 4 is Reece James, Kurt Zouma, Thiago Silva, who returns as captain, and Ben Chilwell. In midfield, N'Golo Kante, Kai Havertz and Mason Mount. Then it's Hakim Ziyech, who scored in midweek his first Chelsea goal. Tammy Abraham back at centre forward, and Timo Werner, who replaces Christian Pulisic, who was originally named in the starting 11 but has either picked up or aggravated an injury in the warm-up and is not playing today. Did, of course, you'll remember, injured his hamstring in the FA Cup final at the end of last season. Gabby, how much are they going to miss him, Pulisic? He's a real problem. Well, hang on, here's Tammy Abraham trying to get forward straight away for Chelsea. But Pulisic, I mean, he's such a creative, but it means that Chelsea are not really starting with the lineup that Frank Lampard intended.
No, and I feel like during the shape that they would have done in training before the game, there would have been Pulisic would have been involved in it, so Lampard won't be happy that he's lost him. But like you said there, you're bringing on Werner, who's one of the better players in the Premier League, so I'm sure that Frank Lampard will be fine.
Burnley have only ever beaten Chelsea once in the Premier League. That was at Stamford Bridge in 2017. This has been a happy hunting ground for the Blues in recent history. This is their 7th visit in the Premier League. Of the previous 6, they've won 5 and drawn 1. Here's Lowton for Burnley inside the centre circle. They're without Gudmundsson today, which adds to an injury list which also includes me and Cork, and of course Phil Bardsley is isolating after COVID diagnosis. All the best to him. I gather he's okay. Chance for Brownhill to try and get the ball forward for Burnley, but it's intercepted by Kurt Zouma, who's wearing gloves. Gabby, I know you used to love your trips to rainy, but
wear gloves on a day like this, though. I don't think it's cold enough for gloves at the moment.
No, it's not that cold. No, I agree. Although I think some players just feel uncomfortable if their hands. I remember John Barnes at Watford. He used to always people used to say, "Well, why are you wearing gloves?" He said, "I just didn't like my fingers feeling even slightly cold." And I suppose it's all about feeling comfortable, isn't it, within yourself? But
if I ever wore gloves and had a bad game, the gaffer would hammer me. He'd say, because you got gloves on, you're soft.
Kante sprays the ball across. Chilwell tries to keep it in, but he's not quite able to do so, and it goes out of play behind the goal, defended by the Burnley goalkeeper Nick Pope, who's only kept 1 clean sheet in his last 7 games for Burnley. Burnley and Sheffield United are the joint lowest scorers in the Premier League, only 3 goals each so far, and that's a big reason why they are where they are in the table, still without a win. There are 4 teams in the Premier League yet to taste victory. Sheffield United must wait. They were beaten 1-0 by Manchester City earlier today. Burnley trying to get forward with Lowton, who spreads it. It's a useful ball. It's controlled well. It's a great chance, and it's been lofted over the top of the crossbar by Ashley Barnes. It was a glorious opportunity for Burnley. Lovely, lovely ball by Lowton. Zouma didn't pick up the man on his shoulder, and really, Gabby, that was a very presentable chance that wasn't taken.
Yeah, it was a great ball by Lowton. I played him at Aston Villa. He's great on the ball, and I think just an unlucky touch there. It was on the bounce, and he tried to lift over the keeper Barnes, but that's a great effort for Burnley. And I mean, Frank Lampard must be shaking his head on the touchline, because that's a story of Chelsea's season so far. Defensively, Zouma's not looking at the man, he's looking at the ball, and it's real schoolboy defending from Zouma.
Edouard Mendy keeps his record so far of clean sheets. The only goal he's conceded since he joined Chelsea was against Tottenham in a League Cup game, which Chelsea ended up losing on penalties. But he's not conceded in the Premier League yet, and he looks, from early evidence, to be a player who might have finally sorted out Chelsea's rather tangled goalkeeping conundrum. Willy Caballero, incidentally, is on the bench today, but they've reinstated Petr Cech, who was a technical advisor, 38 years of age. He's been an ice hockey goalkeeper for a team in Guildford since he quit football, but Chelsea have included him in the Premier League squad. He's not on the bench today, but that doesn't say much for Kepa Arrizabalaga, does it?
No, I mean, basically Lampard's saying that a 38-year-old Petr Cech who's not played in 3 years, he's better than Kepa. So I mean, I do feel sorry for Kepa. I mean, his confidence must be an all-time low now.
Absolutely. World's most expensive goalkeeper as well, £71 million, and he's behind Petr Cech, who, as I say, has been playing ice hockey. He's been playing the drums as well. If you ever look on YouTube, look at Petr Cech's drumming. He's really, really good. He's drumming to like Nirvana songs and Foo Fighters records and stuff like that. Here's Ashley Barnes, who missed that chance earlier, finding Lowton, who's been involved quite a lot early on. Long ball forward by Tarkowski. This time Chelsea do have the measure of it, and it's Thiago Silva who read it really well. The Chelsea captain today, man whose trophy-laden career has few equals in Europe. Those titles with PSG, and also of course an ex-AC Milan player, Edouard Mendy, the former Rennes goalkeeper, wearing all orange today, slides the ball out towards Kurt Zouma. Here's N'Golo Kante, who picks out Chilwell pushing and probing, one of the survivors from the victory in Russia in midweek. There were fans, of course, at that game in Krasnodar. I don't know if you saw it, Gabby, but it was almost strange seeing fans in the stadium. Here's Chilwell, left-hand side, tries to find Havertz, gets it back. Here's Mason Mount, tries to play a 1-2. It doesn't come off, and Burnley are able to clear it. We've had 7.5 minutes, Burnley 0, Chelsea 0. I think Burnley would be pretty happy, given their current situation and indeed their current record against Chelsea on this ground, if they were to pick up at least a point. And Chelsea do have a habit of drawing games this season. They've won 2, drawn 3 and lost 1 of their Premier League games so far, which is not the form of champions, that's for sure. Although they are unbeaten in 8 games, 5 of them have finished level. They drew with Sevilla in the Champions League before beating Krasnodar. Here's Tammy Abraham. He's back inside his own box at the moment, swivels and knocks the ball upfield. It's been a good start by Burnley, hasn't it? As Lowton chips the ball in, Zouma with a powerful header away. Mason Mount can't quite get on it. They've started okay, Burnley, haven't they?
Yeah, you're always going to get this from a Sean Dyche team.